welcome to Podcast vs. Player, episode 256. I am one of your hosts, Callan, as always. I'm joined by a man who saw in the news James Corden called people who eat Tide Pods idiots. He said the Costco brand ones are half price. It's Eddie Bloody Dan.
Hello.
Hello. It's Wednesday. It's cold. Dressing gown's back on.
You can tell we're about to enter the Christmas season, Callum, because I am toasty warm right now.
I'm a little bit warm because I've got heating on because I'm airing some clothes. So,
all right.
It's a bit cold in the kitchen, so I thought put it in here. So
tell you what, why don't you go through all the other temperatures of all the other rooms in your house? How about that?
I mean, I can actually tell you because they're all smart, so I could tell you.
Unlike you, apparently.
Yeah, pretty much. I intended to move it. I just saw it, and I was like, best mention it.
Or just ignore it.
Yeah, could have done. As always, Dan, you fucking ruined my news this week. I wanted to do a big thing.
Blame Twitter, X.
Oh, yeah,
Elon Musk's
X
X-Force, yeah.
Fucking dickhole that he is. But Fallout TV show, first look from Variety, got some pictures.
Well, I've seen various sort of like, again, not through active looking, just they pop up every now and then. And annoyingly, when you click into one to see it, then X or Meta or whatever, like, oh, he likes that. Here's some more. So I don't have a choice in it now, unfortunately. But there was just sort of like just general BTS sort of pictures, like snaps that maybe people have got. These ones, though, these are official ones.
These are big old proper stills from the show, Dan. With section of one, there is one behind the scenes thing, which I think is with one of the directors.
Right.
But yeah, we get to see. Just based on visuals alone, looks pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, the Vault Dweller. It looks like she's outside. Because I was like, as soon as I saw her, I was like, "You're not dirty enough. Like, you should be an absolute box of filth as soon as you step outside of that vault for a day or two."
The first screenshot that it shows you, it's like her like shielding herself from the sun, like similar to Fallout 3.
Exactly, that's what I was going to say. So ordinarily, you'd expect them to just be an absolute filthy mess. But it looks like she is outside the vault, as in she's just come out, so she's as fresh as she's probably going to be through that whole show, which is great. We get a good look at Mr. Goggins.
Mm-hmm. As Ghoul. I think it looks pretty good.
For a TV show, it looks great.
The thing is, we can't use that anymore because, when we say for a TV show, for me personally...
Yeah, we're thinking like ITV's budget, which is like 10 grand an episode or whatever.
Not even that. I'd go as far as like Arrow, The Flash, that kind of budget. This is Amazon.
Well, I don't know, because they certainly don't put any effort into the fucking writing.
I don't know where the money... I don't know where the money goes for those shows, but that's the bar that I would set for a show. Like, it's got to look at least as good as this kind of thing. I'm not saying that they look good, but...
But that's very special effects heavy. Like, this should also be, but...
Oh, Arrow,
I'm hoping that
that's not.
Yeah, okay, yeah, sure.
But looking at this, it looks very much... Amazon's put a lot of money into it, you can tell. But it doesn't look super polished, which is what I would expect from a Fallout universe. It should be dirty and grimy. However, I do think Ghoul looks good, but it reminds me of Red Skull.
I agree. And the thing is, there's a couple of things that are already in my head, because when I think of a Ghoul, that is not what I think of. It's not someone who looks... But depending on when about this is set, and I don't know when that's due to be, if it's before the events of... Because I did see something as well, again, sort of in my oh, fuck's sake, saying that it is canonical.
Yeah, it's canonical.
Within the Fallout universe, which means that if this is before, potentially, sort of, maybe even from Fallout 1, 2, and maybe between 2 and 3 or something like that, then I would absolutely, then they've completely covered it by saying, oh, well, he doesn't look like a normal ghoul as you'd normally see in any of the Fallout games, because this is set before all of them. So all the ones that have been ghouled, they're not as bad as they deteriorate to be in the later ones. Do you know what I mean?
That would make sense with the fact that his name's Ghoul. which
So
to me, yeah, it kind of indicates there aren't any other ones, or at least they haven't come across any other ones in this part of the world, I guess.
Potentially, but even if it's between 3 and 4, I get that you can't make someone look like their insides are falling out of their face, for something like this.
Better than he does in the games. Because maybe they were never meant to look that bad. It's just because it's a.
I disagree.
Game.
Have you not seen like the yeah, they're supposed to be normal skin.
That's what I mean.
Their insides are just falling through it. Yeah,
it's just a glitch.
But if you look at like the in like Fallout 1 and 2, like the sort of like the digitized cutscenes that you have when you're talking with ghouls and traders and stuff, like they look horrific.
Yeah.
Like they look like melted, toxic people.
Well, that's what they are.
Exactly.
They hit that bad with the radiation that they haven't got to like super mutant levels, but
no. Super mutants aren't through radiation.
I thought it was.
No, it's through the FEV virus, or FEV, which is forced evolutionary virus. Don't test me on Fallout, my lad.
What was the name of the? I forgot one. What I was thinking though, while I was actually talking, maybe we can get an indication based on the armor, the power armor.
Well, technically, the armor's always existed.
Oh no, I meant just like the quality of it. Because looking at this picture, they look pretty brand new.
That's a reasonable assumption then, because like if you find like even in like Fallout 3 or Fallout 4, when you find a random set of power armor in the wasteland, it's usually busted, like or rusted, and it looks like a bag of shit.
This is super shiny.
It does look, but that could just be a further testament to, well, this is, I don't know, 50 years after the war, and like everything's still kind of new, and the ghouls are there, but they're not really like as messed up, and they haven't turned feral yet, and that kind of stuff.
Where's Fallout 76 set? Because that's still got like greenery and stuff.
It's in Appalachia.
No, I mean like time wise. I mean.
Oh,
because I know that is before. It's definitely before 4.
I think you're right. I'm gonna have to Google that, mate, because I really don't know.
I'm taking a massive punt and saying, obviously with the other Fallouts, it's just dirt and everything's dead. Whereas in 76, there's trees and flowers and plants and stuff.
It doesn't look at least like it's not been obliterated.
And on this one, this picture of the power armor, and then there's a guy stood next to him. They're in a forest with bright green trees. So, which again would indicate that maybe stuff isn't as dead as it is in Fallout 3, say, or
yeah. So it's 25 years after the Great War.
Pretty soon.
Yeah.
Maybe this is set in 76 era then.
Could be, because it would be, again, it would be very early on after the war. Like everything wouldn't have been completely fucking destroyed and then deteriorated and dissolved, and like everything gets real bad.
Didn't they do that then, where they'll go buy Fallout, the TV show game, but it's just 76.
There won't be any tie-in or mention of anything to do with 76. Like, if it's set before... Because I'm pretty sure that 76 would therefore before all of them?
Theoretically. I don't know when 1 and 2 are set, time-wise. I'm pretty sure they're quite heavily... It's happened ages ago in the first one.
I'm pretty sure it is, yeah.
Vegas, I'm not sure of. I genuinely don't know what the timeline is.
I guarantee that someone will have done a little timeline thing, won't they?
They must have. And I'm assuming it does just go in order. 1, 2, 3.
No, I don't think it's 4. I don't think it's linear like that. No, not release dates, for fuck's sake. It was like 1996. I was like, I don't bloody think so.
Yeah, it's set in 96.
So let's say Fallout lore timeline.
Because I would assume that it's a better way of doing. The same as Knights of the Republic was a smart way of getting it away from the Skywalker saga, where you set it before everything. You're not tied to anything other than obviously there's going to be certain aspects of it that you need to include. But I would say, based on looking at the power armor, looking at Ghoul, looking at the greenery, this is set at least before 3, at least.
I'm struggling here, mate.
Well, I mean,
either no one's done one yet, or
Fallout.
I was just looking for just a timeline picture. Hold on, Fallout Wiki, that might be the one. We don't need to go back to the 1700s. Bloody hell.
No, it's just showing release dates.
It is, but then the only one that's on the wiki that I can see is year by year dates of like what's happened within the actual universe.
I'm very surprised, Dan.
Then you can call this out, by the way.
Yeah.
Got it.
You got one?
So yeah, I've got one here. This is a fandom one, so it might not be by the book, but let's just assume that it is for the sake of it. So 2102 to 2104 is Fallout 76, so that would be the first one, which is what I thought. Then it was Fallout 1, then 2, then 3, then Vegas, then Fallout 4. So you're right, after 76 their release date is also canonically there. Yeah.
It makes sense.
It does. I mean, I suppose it keeps things fairly easy to follow as well, because then if you just go, oh, well, I'll play Fallout 5, and there'll be mention of things that you've done in Fallout 4, and there'll be mentions of the courier from Vegas or whatever. So all they have to do, I mean, technically, yeah, you could have a reference to 76 then. It'd be like, oh, well, the 76 vault opened early, as has done so, or it's probably some Vault-Tec bullshit that they've made them come out early or something like that. Yeah. I closed it down, but I think there was a pretty big gap between 76 and the events of Fallout 1. I
would assume, I mean, looking at you can't really tell too much in 76, to be honest, but there is, stuff isn't fully dead. There's, like I say, there's trees, shrubbery, plants, vegetables, and everything else. Whereas I haven't actually played 1 and 2, I've only played 3, Vegas, 4. But everything's dead. So there's got to be a significant jump.
That could also just be, it's easier to make a game when we don't have to put a million trees in it.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's that, realistically, like, if you go back to Fallout, more so 3 than 1 and 2, but if you go back to Fallout 3, was there really any big wasteland open world games then?
Probably. I mean, not as many as there are now.
That's what I mean. It's like dime a dozen now, which is why 76 visually at the time, apparently, I don't remember it looking good, but it was just like, wow, trees and stuff. Because I used a mod for Fallout 4 just to put greenery in, and it does change the way the areas feel. But I would assume, because I can't actually remember if you said the dates, but 3 Vegas of 4, I can't imagine it's like 50, 60, 100 years between them.
That's the one thing I probably should have checked, but I think that there's... I'll tell you what, let me get that back up again.
I'd understand if it was, this is what's happening, because they're in different parts of the world, aren't they? So it would be understandable that it was kind of maybe simultaneous.
2102 is when 76 is set to 2104. The first Fallout is 2161, so that's about 60 years afterwards. Fallout 2 is 2241, so that's about another 60 or so years afterwards. That would be 80 years afterwards. So that's 2241. That's for Fallout 2. Fallout 3 is 2277, so that's only about 35 years later. Then Fallout 3 to Vegas is 2020. I've just forgotten how to say numbers. 2277. I don't know why that was so difficult. And Vegas is 2281. So that's only about 5 years later.
5-ish, yeah.
And then 2281, which is Vegas, and 2287, which is Fallout 4. So that's only 6 years. So Fallout 3 to 4 is within the space of 10 years.
Yeah.
All of those events. And then before that, it's about 100 years before you get
about
to
100 years from 76 to 4 then.
Yeah, so that's potentially a huge area of just general lore, that things that could have just been mentioned in games. But it will probably mean that, other than ghouls maybe, you're not going to meet any characters from any of the games. Apart from maybe super mutants, because once they've gone into the FEV, I think they're sterile, but I think they're basically immortal. Like they live very, very, very long times.
They live longer than your standard humans and stuff. But
yeah, I mean, if anything, you might meet like Harold. Like, so Harold was the he's the one who turns into the tree in Fallout 3. You know, when you can go and set him on fire or free him or whatever, or make the area green. Yeah. He's obviously a normal dude. I think it's the master that tried to turn him into, or he got irradiated or something like that happened when they were like trying to do this thing, and that's what ended up turning him into a big old tree. So maybe like some of the older characters from the first Fallout, maybe you'll see some of them, but you're not going to get like any of your main antagonists from any of the Fallouts, because either they haven't been born or they haven't been released.
Well,
So
I'm fine with that, because I would like to look at this as I would like this to be more of a Knights of the Republic, where it's connected in name and universe, and that's it. It's its own.
So there'll be a lot that people would recognise anyway.
Oh yeah,
so
yeah.
There'll be Nuka-Cola, there'll be Power Armor, there'll be the Brotherhood of Steel. That we might get something like the Railroad or the Couriers or the what was that Legion called? The something like that anyway. You know, so there might be like factions and things like that people would recognise, but unless they want to. Well, no, because they can't do it. If it's canonical, then they can't just pull someone through time.
They can't just mix and match people. Like
exactly.
Like
yeah,
Disney have with Star Wars.
Yeah.
It'd have to. I mean, if you've got your what were the androids called? The synths. Like, potentially might see some synths, because they're not, depending on how long they've been knocking around. But
that's true. But I mean the.
So you might see Valentine or something.
It depends though, because like again, that's quite an advanced synth. Like
maybe the
they've
original
only been.
Maybe he's based on
Adam.
Yeah. How old is he?
He's quite old. I don't think it's like he's like the first synth or anything like that. But yeah, there might be a couple of like synths. I'm hoping for like some Robo Brains, maybe like a Robo Brain that's turned into a villain 80 years later or whatever, and when it turns up in Fallout 3, something like that you might get. So there'll be plenty of things to be like, oh shit, I know that. Oh no way. Like, oh, the first Wastelanders guide, that's cool. Like something like that. I reckon there'll be a bunch of shit like that that's just in the world and in the environment constantly. But I find it very unlikely that unless it's a super mutant or unless it's a villain character or a big player from like Fallout 1, I just don't think there's going to be any names that you recognise.
I wouldn't assume,
unless they're one that's a synth or an immortal or something like that.
They're not going to age the same as one of your Vault guys is. But I wouldn't be. I mean, I would and I wouldn't be surprised if the characters we meet are either brand new or they are from 1 and 2. I'd be surprised mainly because they're not mainstream games, and outside of your massive fans, no one will have played it.
I disagree. Like back in the day, like the reason that there's 6 entries into this series is because it's been so popular.
No.
They didn't make 2 flops and then made 3 and everyone went bananas for it.
No. Well, that's pretty much how it happened, though. 3 was the jump-off point for the series.
Well, it was a lot more mainstream, but that's because it was released on console.
Yeah.
But that's more to do with the charge of technology.
It was no one. I would genuinely say a lot of the reason that this TV show exists is because of Fallout 3, not the other two.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
That's what I mean. It's like I've never played 1 and 2, and I've got them, and I think I got them for free. I think on Epic, maybe. I generally can't remember. But no, when Xbox we got them on the Bethesda launcher.
I've got them on Steam, so if we got them through Bethesda, it would have transferred over. So that's probably where they came from then. Yeah.
But I'm still yet to play them.
Honestly, mate, I don't think there's anything you'd enjoy about it.
This is what I mean, like, because they're not. It's not Fallout, as I know Fallout. The very first one I played was 3. Loved 3. Loved Vegas. Loved 4. Tolerated 76. Fallout Shelter and all that. And the first
Shelter's
two
great,
it's the like RTS-y style tactical things.
It's not RTS, but sure.
You know what I mean though. It's this you top-down isometric view.
But think of it from the people who go, "Oh, I love 1, I love 2," and then they release 3, and it's a first-person shooter running around in it like that. That's not Fallout.
It's the same. I mean, you're playing Final Fantasy remake at the minute, 7 remake at the moment, and exact same thing with that. You'll have people that'll pick it up and go, "This is amazing! I fucking love it." But then you got the people that I just want the turn-based. Give me
that's what I wanted.
Give me the original PS1 game, but with these graphics.
Yeah, in essence, that's what I was hoping. Yeah.
And that's going to be the same thing where you're going to have people who played 1 and 2 back in the day, loved it, loved everything about it, played 3 and went, "The fuck have they done?" Because it's so vastly different.
This is what made me thinking that, because I've got 1, I've got 2, and I've got Tactics, and I've never really played them before. Maybe now's a good time to get into it.
Yeah, especially with this
if
coming
I can
up.
Exactly, like with this coming up in April, I think it's going to be coming out. Exclusive to Amazon Prime.
Mm-hmm.
I might actually give them a go, because it is still like a proper old school RPG.
I would say, what was that other game we played? Wasteland?
Wastelanders, yeah.
I say it close to that.
Very much so.
Yeah.
But if you were to go... Oh, I loved it. I absolutely rinsed that out. I really, really liked that. It's very hard, very annoying as well, but it's kind of great. It's in the same vein of... what I've been playing lately that's... like Baldur's Gate. It's that kind of like turn-based...
Yeah.
And like XCOM, but they're very... like the application is very different. Like there's a lot... It's all... instead of it being, well, I guess it kind of works on the same basis, but instead of it being rolls of a dice, of like you've got X amount of modifier, then plus whatever you roll.
Yeah.
It's just like a straight percentage chance, which again, presumably is built on those same kind of things. But
I think it's
it's always
different more.
It's logically it doesn't make any sense. They'll be like, you're behind cover, there's a guy standing there, and you've got an 82% chance of hitting him, and you fire, and he's 6 feet away from you, and you miss, and you're like, no, that's impossible. That's impossible. So it's stuff like that about those kinds of games that wind me up. But like Wastelanders is, I'd say, from my kind of limited exposure to those kinds of games anyway, those like old Icelandic kind of RPGs, that one's great. And if Fallout is just like a very old version of that, then yeah, I'll probably enjoy it. But because of my exposure to these more modern ones, I could play it and go, God, this is so slow and boring, and everything's clunky and it doesn't really work properly, because it's obviously, I think it came from a board game, didn't it?
I'm pretty sure we had this conversation before, and it turned out that it didn't.
You might be right.
It came later, but for a long time, I was of the impression there was a board game, like a tabletop Dungeons and Dragons style. Yeah, no, not Dungeons and Dragons, but a board game.
There's no dragons in it.
And then I'm sure we looked and went, oh no, you can buy one, but it came out.
It wasn't
like 15 years
yeah.
after or something.
I think you're right actually. Yeah. But I'm tempted to kind of give maybe just one, because again, like from that list, assuming those dates and everything are all correct, obviously, then that would be a jump of 60 years. So if they're going pre all the games apart from 76, or it could be parallel with 76, you never know.
Could be.
It might be worth playing some of Fallout 1 because there's a lot of older characters, and like the Overseer is like an old guy. So like he's like, okay, well if he's in his 60s, then he's probably been around since the end of the war, or he's born like right at the start of the war or whatever. So those kinds of names you might get come up, but unless you've played it, any of those references are probably just going to go straight over your head. And you're going to have to watch a video on YouTube that explains, well, if you played this game from 35 years ago, then you'd understand why this joke was funny.
I was just about to say, like, because I think it's a good idea playing one, definitely one, maybe two as well, depending on how much you like the first one. With this coming up, because the odds are there's probably going to be some references, or the characters will be in it in the show. But I don't know whether I could be bothered to play it. So I might just watch a YouTube video that goes, "This is all the characters from Fallout 1."
Well, this is it. There's a lot of videos that I've watched, sort of, just sort of like background watching. About like the events that happened in the first one. It's not really like a deep dive into what happens in this game. It's more sort of like, here's the history of the super mutants.
Yeah.
And it like talks about what happened in 1 and 2 and then blah blah blah. So there's a lot of videos that I've seen like that, which I think if they make references to those kinds of major players, I reckon I'd get that without too much fuss. Sorry.
Wuss.
Wuss.
No wuss.
But it depends though, because they could just be like, no, this is parallel to Fallout 4. It's just they happen to be in a place that there's trees.
So we're basing all this speculation on just these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's only 9 pictures.
Well, I've only seen 4 actually.
Oh.
So that's interesting. Why don't you send me those? Because I'll have a look at the other ones.
I will bloody send them to you, Dan.
Because that's the only thing that I can think of that would, other than just again budgetary or prosthetic restraints or CG constraints or whatever, is why Walter Goggins' ghoul doesn't look like a normal ghoul, which is just an absolute mess. Again, I wouldn't expect anyone to just go to that level of detail for what's presumably going to be quite a main character, presumably like a companion.
Well, I would assume,
which means that
because the
he's going to be in it a lot. That'll be very expensive.
Because he's the name.
Yeah, right. Yeah, because we figured initially that he was going to be.
He was a dweller.
He was going to be the main guy. Yeah. So we've got. Okay, so I'm just going to go through these as you've sent them. So we've got the vault behind 33 by the looks of it,
which is a new one.
It could be vault 133 maybe, but that seems unlikely, given the size of the door. But yeah, she's very clean. That's what I remember about this. She's got a busted lip, so she's kicked off with someone and got kicked out the vault, maybe something like that.
Or they didn't. She wants to leave the vault and they won't let her, and they have a bit of rough and tumble. And
I don't know. You can't just pop one of those bad boys open. Okay, so here she is with an older gentleman.
Is there anything on the blackboard?
Resistors in Jerry's. Current is the same across each resistor. Voltage is divided. It's just general electronic stuff. So she's potentially like, if you think of her like stats list, she's going to be like quite high in like the computing side of things. So she'll be able to hack terminals or whatever. So there's like a few Vault-Tec bits and pieces. I'm trying to recognise any of the junk that's on the table.
Can't really get a clear view of his Pip-Boy either, so you can't tell.
The Pip-Boy looks great though. It looks like it fits snugly without being like a gigantic, like the ones that they give away with like Fallout 4 Special Edition or whatever. It's like this huge fucking monstrous thing. That looks like it's more comfortable, a bit more ergonomic. Those potentially like power cells that are on the table in front of her, like those, we're just seeing the ends of them. But either way, that all looks good. Very good set dressing.
Yeah.
Oh shit, the Pridwin.
Amazing.
No, this one I definitely haven't seen. So that's like a whole, like a list of, like an enlistment of Brotherhood recruits. Maybe seen the Pridwin for the first time. God damn.
Looks good, doesn't it?
That looks ace. Yeah, the one with all the power armors walking on. Yeah, that looks fine. What do you reckon? Like 2 stories going on at the same time, like. One about the Vault Dweller and her story, and then like a Brotherhood of Steel recruit, like his squad, and then they're going to kind of cross paths or team up or something like that. Maybe
that makes sense.
Yeah, those power armors look great. I bet they look ridiculous clomping around though. So we'll see how that looks.
Well, I've got a feeling it'll be the same as the when the Star Wars fans make their own armor and Disney pay them to just come and hang around places for the photos and stuff. I imagine
Potentially,
these
yeah.
are going to be as good as some of the cosplays that we've seen. I don't
So
know where
there's
this Last of Us looking picture is. I can't
what
really.
when she's this is like clearly like some sort of settlement or town or something like that. I don't think
Oh.
it's.
There's a supermarket. Oh no, supply.
I was going to say, yeah, that says supply, I think. You thinking of the Super Duper Mart?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking of.
Yeah. But that big smokestack thing, it kind of looks like, like the guy who sells the noodles in Fallout 4 in Diamond City, but that's like a big baseball thing. But that's like shipping containers and stuff that are making up the walls around this.
It could even be the start of Megaton.
Maybe. I mean, there's a big old plane sat in the middle of it as well. So like this looks like it's just like a general hub. She's going to find a couple of companions, a couple of side quests, that kind of thing.
Find herself a dog meat.
Yeah, there he is, Ghoul. I mean, the face looks like it's popping a little bit, like it's been. It does look like it's been CG'd a bit. But that was the picture I've seen of him as well as the other close up. I'm trying to make out what's like on the back of the.
That's what I was just looking at.
Like the posters and that, just to see if there's anything familiar. Like the till looks very reminiscent from like Fallout 3 and 4. And there's like a workbench clamp as well, so maybe he's got like a workshop or something.
Because this looks similar to the workbenches from 4 in terms of this is just a massive jump, but the blue of the metal sheetings on the wall behind, that colour was like prevalent throughout a lot of the building stuff on 4. I think
there's the shipping containers.
That's what I mean. So obviously these could be ones that are intact, whereas the ones that you find like where you're getting your scraps and stuff, obviously they're just random sheets of metal. I think it's just literally an aesthetic thing more than anything else.
Maybe so. Then that close up again, it doesn't look like he's falling apart. It looks like he's been red skulled.
Yeah.
Which again, if they go, well, we can't afford to just make someone look like an absolute zombie. And also, if he's supposed to be like a cool, charismatic companion or whatever, if he's melting and falling apart, maybe he doesn't look that visually appealing.
But that is the appeal of him, though.
Kinda.
Just make him a normal person
kinda.
if that's the case.
Yeah, I mean, but this is in terms of what's just on the screen anyway. That looks great.
Yeah.
I can't argue with that. It looks great.
Because it doesn't look like Walt Goggins.
No.
So they've done that
okay.
at least.
I don't know what that pistol is that she's using there. Like, this is one of the behind the scenes.
Yeah, so this is the only thing you want in there. But
I don't recognise that. It looks good in the sense that it looks like it's just been bodged together. Because it doesn't look like one of the standard Fallout pistols.
The Pip-Boy's got either the screen's missing or it's got a cover.
Probably just missing, isn't it? Or it's like a flat green screen that goes in it, so you can animate it. It could be like a pipe revolver, like like the ones you get in Fallout 4, I think, that you can make. Like they're made of like wood and like they're really shit, and it's like your first weapon or whatever.
But this looks like a fully assembled gun rather than one that's been slapped together.
I disagree. I think it does look like it's been slapped together. Because like that trigger, it's like a big circle on it. Because like all of the normal guns in Fallout that you get, like the revolvers and all that, they're normal standard guns. That looks like it's been made.
It's mostly just because it's using the same colour scheme throughout. That's the only thing that throws it for me. It's the same chrome and like bronze colour that makes it look like it's meant to be that gun. I don't know who this chap is either.
I assume he's a director or a producer.
That's what I assume he is.
But I don't recognise him. And then this last one, we've got a Brotherhood of Steel initiate by the looks of it, next to a knight. But that machine gun, though, that is one of the 5.56 like assault rifle things that you can pick up. I can't imagine giving that gun to that guy next to him.
I mean, it's bigger than that guy next to it.
That's what I mean. Like, but you could just get one of those, just sort of carted around or whatever.
Very shiny armour, though.
Too shiny, some would say. I do see what you mean about all the trees, though.
Very green.
Although, what if that's pre-war?
Well, when did the Brotherhood come in?
Oh,
I mean,
he has got a Brotherhood insignia, hasn't he?
It's they might have. I don't know.
Because I was just thinking, because like obviously those were military armor, weren't they?
That's what I mean. They were already in, but he's got the insignia.
Mm.
I mean, it literally just could be this part of the world. We don't know where it is, so we'll just.
That's right. Yeah, maybe they just didn't get a direct hit from a nuke.
Yeah, I know. Obviously, you're not going to get this greenery, but we'll just say, for argument's sake, Arizona. It didn't affect it as bad as other parts of America. Again, wrong place for that. It made more sense to say Canada, something like that.
Well, that's the thing. Like, if they've come off the Pridwin and they go, right, you're a knight now. Congratulations. Here's your power armor. Here's your big gun. We need you to go off and clear out some like little skirmish things, so like a raider camp that they're all being a bunch of pricks. So go in there and sort them all out.
Could be anything.
Could be, but this final press shot here that we're looking at with this power armor and the big machine gun, it looks great.
Looks real good.
And imagine that with like the smoke and tint and all that kind of stuff on the on the camera when you're seeing it. I reckon, other than like if you on a rewatch and you go, oh, I could see it's made of like polystyrene or whatever, and it's just sort of waggling around on his arm. I think at first watch, as long as they could demonstrate the weight of it right, that everything's like a big clumpy. It's like RoboCop.
Yeah. I'd generally say though, if you crop the chap on the right out, that could just be in game.
They wish.
No, I don't mean like it looks this good, but I mean like when you'll see like press release shots to tease there's a new game coming out kind of thing.
I mean the level of detail that they've gone into. Like look at all of that shit that's just on the helmet alone. It looks amazing.
It just going off to your last comment. It looks heavy.
But that's the thing. I imagine it is like it'll be like I don't know, 30 kilos of just rubber and whatever. You'd sweat your tits off in it.
Oh, yeah,
you wouldn't be able to film in that for long. But
it looks as it should in terms of weight and cumbersome and everything else. Obviously, how the people in there portray it will sell it or not sell it.
They shouldn't be zipping about. That's for sure.
No.
Like they should just be big lunking. That's why they've got huge machine guns. So they're just putting down massive amounts of fire. But yeah, there's not a picture, and there's not a bit of any of those pictures that make me worried about this so far.
It's maybe more excited if anything else.
If anything, yeah, I think you're probably right. Like the only thing is the ghoulification. But if they go, oh, this is like 10 years after the war, and this guy should have been killed, and he was the bomb and his radiation, but he's fine. I'll go. I don't care then. Like, sure, him 80 years down the line, yeah, he probably will be falling apart. Yeah. But at the moment, he's still pretty decent looking.
I think we've got a pretty good chance that that's going to happen. Like we've already said, like his character's name is Ghoul. You can't call somebody Ghoul if there's 1,000 ghouls running around.
Well, it depends though, because if they go, that's like a placeholder name because we haven't released his actual name.
Maybe. I think it makes more sense to do that where he is the only one because it's that early on, and maybe even throughout the show he degrades more and more.
Well, wasn't there, I think in Fallout 3, wasn't there like a bartender or something like that was a ghoul that was just called Ghoul? And he was like, oh, everyone used to hate me around here, but, they've all got to know me now. And
there is a bartender in 3, but I don't think his name's Ghoul. I could be wrong on that. And then there's
I'm sure it was 4. It was like a proper awful name that they gave him.
Like Cedric.
No. It would have been like Scabby or something like that.
Honestly, can't remember. I remember the Ghoul from 3, and I remember the one from
Gob.
4. There you go.
Gobtholomew. I didn't know that was his full name. For fuck's sake. Yeah, so he works in Megaton. Ghoul bartender. Let's see if there's any sort of weird backstory on this. Right, I'm going to send you this screenshot. I know this is going to make absolutely no difference to anyone at home, so apologies. But
I can put the screenshot.
Oh, okay. Well, that's what he looks like in Fallout 3.
Where have you sent it?
Discord. There you go.
I can't look at it on Discord.
Why not?
Because then you disappear.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll send it to you on
there you go.
Telegram. There.
Yeah, I remember him.
So that guy, you say ghoul, that's what I'm thinking of. I'm not thinking of a handsome Walter Goggins. I'm thinking of this guy who's literally falling apart.
But again, this is over 100 years after 76.
But that's exactly it though. Like, because if they just go, oh well, he's not going to look like that yet because he's only been exposed to it for 20 years or 50 years or whatever, so he looks reasonably okay at the moment. That's all the hand wavy. It's fine now. But I'm just going to have a look through his background and just see, oh, he used to be a cowboy for his... and he'd be like, oh my god, it's God the bartender. Used to live in the underworld. He set out into the wasteland to find fortune. He was caught by a group of slavers. And then he was bought as a slave, and he's just been a slave ever since. So, no, it's probably not going to be him then, if that's the case.
There's the guy from 4. I think he was a salesperson.
Yeah, but there's the companion that you get as well.
That's what I'm talking
about. No, he's not the sales guy. No, that's a separate dude.
Because I remember him he's in a club place with rooms, and you go speak to him, and then you can go tell him to just go back to wherever.
Well, he's like the mayor of this little side city. I can't remember his name now, but he's the one with the tricorn hat.
Yeah.
He's like the mayor of that town. But you get him as a companion as well. But again, he still looks like an absolute mess.
But again, this will be if 3 is give or take 100 years. 4's what was it? 100?
True, but I don't think that all of the ghouls are ghouls that have just been around since the end of the war. I think that people can still turn into ghouls even if they've been born after the war. Yeah. It's just a radiation thing.
Maybe he was a vault dweller. And he just popped out.
He lived in an irradiated vault.
Yeah, maybe.
Because
he's got this... I mean, he seems to be your... Oh, what was the Boba Fett guy in... Marshall. Not actual Boba Fett, the guy who had he had his armor for a bit, didn't he?
Mm.
Maybe he seems to strike me as that kind of character from these pictures. So he's looking after a town and that kind of thing.
Yeah, maybe not running it, but
yeah, he's the law.
He's the law.
Yeah. Could be completely wrong. He could be the villain.
I don't know. There's too much about this that they could just go, no, it's not anyone. It's not related to anyone, and he's got no backstory that ties into anything that's happened in any of the games. Brilliant. Then write a great little character for me.
Smartest thing to do.
Yeah, I'd say so. Yeah. Because then if you go, oh yeah, but then he's going to become this guy in Fallout 4, you'd be like, well, now you've got to set him up to live that path for the next 100 years or whatever before we get there.
This is what I mean. This is why I was referencing Knights of the Old Republic. It's the smartest thing you can do is you've got an existing franchise that's already in place and people have got the favourite characters and the characters they don't like and everything else. If you're building something onto that, set it before all that shit. Do whatever the fuck you want.
Blow up planets, star systems, doesn't matter.
And that's why personally, I think the story in Cotter 1 and 2 both work tremendously well. And even the story in the MMO as well. Because we're not... Outside of that, all of the stories are Skywalker. All of them.
Pretty much, yeah.
So it's like, meh. And I think that will be the smartest thing that this can do as well. It's in the same universe, but it's before all of that. So we're not going to see... There probably will be a dog, but it's not dog meat. It
can't be.
This is hamburger.
Yeah, I know. But it could end of the season, and it turns out that she's the great grandmother of the main character from Fallout 3 or Fallout Vegas or whatever. And then you can go, well, that's fine, but then we know that you're not going to kill her off because you can't.
Not yet, anyway.
Depends. I mean, what if they're using what is it, Vault 111 in Fallout 4 that's full of cryotubes?
Yeah.
Just go, well, just pop her in here for 50 years or whatever, and then we'll come back, and Season 2 is going to be 60 years down the line, and bang, we're into the Fallout 1.
I'd like it if it was the lead character from this turned out to be a distant relation, and it's just like Dave the Myler fisherman. There's like one mention of him through all of the games.
Yeah,
that'd be good. Not that he exists, but something like that.
No, but I don't know if it's been. Again, I haven't looked into it purposefully, but I don't know if it's been specified. It exists at this point within the canon timeline. I mean, we're basing all of this on purely how clean and nice everything looks comparatively. But it could, like I say, it could just be parallel with 3 and 4. It could be ahead of it. I don't know.
Could even but I'm these press shots. The actual final results might not look like this.
That's possible. They could grub everything up and make everything look absolutely awful. Like the trees in the background, they could be like, well, we're digitally getting rid of them. It's just going to be a huge smoking wasteland, and we can't go anywhere that looks like that. Not really.
They could do a Infinity War, where in the trailer we had Hulk running down with the rest of the team, but he weren't there. It was,
yeah, I think you're giving this a bit too much credit, mate.
You go, ha!
This hasn't got the kind of hype that Endgame will. As much as I'd love it to, I don't think it will, unfortunately.
I think as long as they can, I know it's a completely different show, but as long as they can stay on the same kind of highs as The Boys and Gen V and Invincible and Preacher, Reacher, like Amazon's got a lot of very good shows, and as long as this can at least be on those levels, it hasn't got to be better than the games because it's not the game; it's a show.
Yeah.
As long as it's good and it fits within the universe. I'd like to say, who's a good example of it? So Brian O'Malley, who does Scott Pilgrim, he was very happy with Scott Pilgrim Takes Off because he was heavily involved with it. And he had obviously it's his baby. I can honestly assume he wouldn't have put it out if he wasn't happy with it. But I know Todd Howard releases games that are broken to fuck. So, I'm not putting that much faith into him.
Well, did you not see the new Doom film?
Was Todd Howard part of that?
It doesn't matter. I'm pretty sure that was after Bethesda took over them.
I don't think he had anything to do with that, though. I don't think he has anything to do with Doom.
I doubt. Wait, I doubt it. I can't remember what it was called. I've seen it once and it was terrible.
You definitely watched it, and you tried to get me to watch it.
Yeah.
Spoiler, I still haven't. I never intend to. I saw the original one, and that's enough. It was... is it Bethesda? Is it Arkane? Obviously, I know they're one and the same company, but... which team specifically made Doom?
Annihilation. There it is.
Doom Annihilation. Ugh.
It was released direct to video. Yikes.
I don't know who anyone is in this film.
Probably a good reason for that, mate. Yeah, I'm not seeing anything about...
I imagine they just went...
2019. I'm sure that was after the acquisition. I'm sure it was.
Of what?
Bethesda buying up id.
I don't actually know.
Yeah, 2009 ZeniMax picked him up. So whenever that ZeniMax acquisition thing took over, that's when Bethesda would have had a hand on the wheel, or could have at least had a hand on the wheel.
Yeah, but that wouldn't have been Todd Howard specifically, would it?
Not particularly, and plus that could have already been in development at that point, so it's difficult to say.
Potentially. But obviously this, and if they ever did a Starfield TV show or a Skyrim TV show, like, he'll be at least at some form of the reins, making shots and decisions and that. And for the most part... No, I was just going to say, for the most part, it looks like he's done a good job. I know it's not him.
I was going to say, don't give him too much fucking credit, mate.
No, but he'll be signing off on stuff, won't he?
So did George Lucas. That doesn't mean shit.
Exactly.
He still signed off on the prequels, didn't he?
It's a double-edged sword.
But I think just from this alone, the thing that I'm kind of get the hardest about, I think, is going to be all the prop and set work, because every piece of junk that should exist within this, if it's a prequel to all the blah blah blah, every piece of junk, every teddy bear, every bottle, every random fire extinguisher, they should all be identical to the ones in the game, because you're picking up that same random junk to build all your shit with. So it'll be newer, sure, but the design and stuff like that, if they've really honed in on those kinds of details, that's what, like, just looking at that table full of gumph that she's working on with that fella, I'm just like, I want to spend a day just around these sets, just picking up and looking at all these things, because they just look so interesting and so good.
I would assume they do, because one of the biggest things of Fallout is the feel of the unit, because it's that weird futuristic but retro.
It's the 50s.
Yeah. So if they get that wrong, that'll affect a lot of just the feel of the show. If they've got either, and I'm not saying if the bottle caps aren't quite the same shape. That's not. That's
true.
Fine, but
That's no fine. But if it's these caps are from a Coca-Cola bottle, you'd be like, the what? Sorry, I don't think so.
What if they've got direct sponsorship? So is this just Coca-Cola now?
Then they'd have to go, in the future, in a parallel reality that's also got sponsorship that we can get money from. Here's Fallout.
No,
I think, actually, I'm just having a look now. I think that little thing that I thought was a power cell, I think it's a fuse. Oh, it looks very similar. Kind of looks similar. Again, apologies for people at home, but I'm just going to send you this. You'll recognise it as soon as I send it to you.
I'm looking at it now, the photo from the thing, but it does look similar.
That's what I mean. Like, if there are things, so it won't look exactly the same. Again, if it's supposed to be 100-year-old at this point, then it's going to look busted and awful. But if they go, oh, this is a fuse, this you can use to build a blah blah blah, it should look like the same fuse. If they've done that, even if the story isn't particularly interesting or it's not world breaking or whatever,
I think you're right.
Like that level of detail, I would just be like, oh, they've taken that exact picture of this random stupid thing and they've made it a real thing and it looks that good. That would make me so happy if they just paid like that much attention to getting all those little bits right.
The colour scheme, obviously the shape of it, it's hard to tell because the more you zoom in, obviously the more compressed the picture looks, but I think you could be right there.
It's either a fuse or a power cell, I think. But those are the things. It's not going to be like someone name dropping all these characters or whatever. It'll be someone who goes to pick up a railway spike launcher, and it looks just like the one that you can get in the game.
Yeah,
like stuff like that. I'll be like, oh, that's such a good little thing to have in there.
Even down to like just looking at this vault that they're in. This looks like a vault from 4. Like, just looks like it's set from the game.
Yeah.
And like I say, if they fuck it up, that's where it's going to go wrong. I don't think it's going to be the story. I don't think it's going to be the characters. I think it's going to be the world.
But then it just doesn't feel the same.
Yeah. I mean, if something's wrong with it, that's what it'll be, and that's you can. It's like saying it's a new Batman movie, and you go to cinema, and it's based in Tokyo. You go, but it's not Gotham. Like, and it might be a really good film, but it's not going to have that feel to it, unless it's Batman like, Beyond. I guess.
If you watch, like any of the new, like any Batman movie, other than maybe the Batman, they just look like it's just a city.
Yeah,
it's like in Man of Steel, like when he's in Metropolis, or whatever. It's just like, well, that could just be New York or whatever.
It's
like,
all it seems is New York.
Yeah, it just doesn't feel like it's a separate. Like, this is the worst city in the world because it's the most crime-ridden, or this is the beacon of that's why we've got Superman, because it's so shiny and glorious. Like there's certain aesthetics that they just don't really carry over, and you don't believe that it's anything other than just on location shooting somewhere.
Well, that's what you got from the I know comparison, the very different films really, but with the Christian Bale Batman movies, that was just New York, and it didn't feel like it didn't feel any more dangerous than normal modern day New York in real life. But you compare that to the Tim Burton Batman movies, and
that doesn't feel like a real place.
No, it felt like a bit too cartoony in places, but it felt like you could just stick your head out the window. You might get shot. I was only picking this milk bottle up.
But I know that's a really good example. Like that doesn't feel like a real place. It does feel like it's somewhere in fiction, and it would be easy if you were to set a Fallout thing in like even if you just did the capital wastelands, just say 3, let's just say for example, and you go 10 years before or after the events of Fallout 3, everything would be brown and grey because that's what the game looked like. Everything was falling apart. There's not going to be very good lighting in the game because obviously it's very old at this point. It's just going to look awful, and if you've got like a nice shiny thing, it'll ruin it immediately.
Especially if it's power armor or something.
Yeah, it needs to be broken, but everything needs to be like held together by will and force of will. That's it.
You come across something and it could be power armor helmet, or it could be a weapon or something, and you pick it up and it just falls apart. And it's like,
it just instantly, just the power cell falls straight out and break it. Yeah. But there's like we're seeing like the Prydwen though. That obviously that looks great, which again speaks to me that either this is a flashback for when it was first built, which was like some sort of military thing, or this is a very early in the franchise kind of when the Prydwen did look that nice. Yeah. But do you think that if we see the Prydwen, we might also see Liberty Prime?
Potentially, and then we can redirect people to our store where they can buy the Liberty Prime Iron Giant crossover poster.
It's a really good shirt. I really like that Liberty Prime one. It's real good.
I think we'll do a bit more promo for that coming up to this. But we could see him in his prime. Excuse the pun.
Yeah, like lobbing nukes around like they're nothing. Do you reckon they're going to do some more like flashbacky stuff? They're going to here's the Great War happening. Like
I hope so, because you get it like third hand in the games. Like it's just what you come across or what somebody tells you or whatnot.
But even that story could be it's a tale told by 6 generations of different people, and then some trader that you met 2 weeks ago. He said there was something else that happened here, and oh my god, there's monsters or whatever. Yeah. But seeing it first, but does that destroy some of the myth though that comes with it?
Well, it's not necessarily we could see flashback. I mean, to be fair, all of these stills could be flashbacks for all we know. But if we see a flashback, it doesn't necessarily mean that that's how it happened, because that's still somebody else's story. Well,
the easiest way to do that, I guess, would be if she comes out, and obviously not that this would be the case, but she's saying, oh, what happened during the Great War? How did the war get started? And then she speaks to some historian who's like, oh, I'm an expert on the war and blah, 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 blah. And, you get a flashback retelling and it's the war happening as they've said it, and then you find someone else and there's a different flashback and it works slightly differently because someone else has... So then you know that, oh, well, the flashbacks, they can't be trusted either, which means that probably nobody does know, but it's a cool way of getting like and like the Battle of Anchorage, I think, is a big one. Like when... I think it's when the US overpowered Canada or something like that. It's like it's huge. I think it's something to do with the power armor. It's when they were first launched into they were first introduced in battle and just obliterated everybody. So like something like that would be cool so you can see what they were like back in their prime. But then you see they're just sort of these like barely working, clunking, hulking machines. Because even when you get a power armor in Fallout 4 or 76 or 3 as well, sorry, but they're not great. No. I mean, like they take in. ungodly amount of punishment, and they up your carrying ability and all that sort of stuff, and no fall damage and all that's great. But it's not as if you can get in one and then fast travel.
No, you still got the same same things that hold you back as if you haven't got them. It will take damage. It's not like a forever thing, like you need power cells put into them. It's slow getting in and out of it, so you can get attacked while that's going on. It's just I mean, it makes things easier, and it does, but it's not getting into an Iron Man suit. It's
yeah. You're absolutely right. It's not a sleek and shiny scalpel. It's just a great big hammer that you're climbing into.
Well, they do it with 4 when you've got to fight the Deathclaw. When you go to the Thinker building, it's just like in the armor and pick up that minigun, and it's it's meant to be like really tense and just like but it's not. It's like good dunk, good dunk, good dunk. But that's what I want that still, and I think it would be interesting seeing it from someone's point of view rather than someone just telling you about it. You see it all happening, not necessarily this is what happened, but we can at least see a visual of it, and maybe the power armor's even worse then. It's even slower. You got bits
so it's
fucking flying off of it, and
they've improved on it through learning and stuff like that over the decades.
I'd be more interested in seeing that, because I just feel it makes it a little bit more interesting. And
well, if you, I know you, I probably know the answer to this already, but did you ever play Halo Wars and Halo Wars 2?
That's the RTS, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, then no.
So there's some really good, because those games I believe are set before the first Halo. So Spartans are still very much around, and Spartans are units that you can have in the game. And there's some really, really good cutscenes with like these Spartans, like a team of Spartans, just tearing through like this whole like Covenant squad or whatever they are, and like they're just doing flips over each other, and like they're all it's just like, oh, that's why like these people, like everyone in all the Halo games, are like, oh my god, a Spartan, holy shit, I know what you can do. So like if you were to go back in time and see these things as they're like these prototype ones that are coming out, and they're just like they're running at like 60 miles an hour, and then they can just turn people into paste. And then when you go, well, this is what we've got now, it's like, yeah, well, it's 100-year-old tech and it doesn't work like it should do, which is why you're this big clumpy robot now.
Yeah,
that's
a good, yeah.
I'd love that. You'd be like, oh, that's what they could have been, and then, or that's what the Brotherhood of Steel were basing this whole thing on, that they were these incredible, walking tanks that could just obliterate whole armies on their own. And now it's kind of good for lifting stuff, because you can lift heavier things that you could before.
We haven't got
like, so they're not.
This.
Yeah, that's why you can't just get a tank, because everything's just falling apart and everything's broken. Like something like that kind of juxtaposition of what you're used to seeing with armor as to what potentially it could have been. That'd be great.
That's something that's always I found odd, is that why have they not made cars?
Can you imagine in a Bethesda game?
No, I know there's game like restrictions as to why it's not done, but just in that universe, like just to make a vehicle. We haven't even got them in Starfield, so like...
That's true. Yeah, they're not going to put them in anytime soon, are they? I don't know, because I mean, I suppose the easiest way out of it would be like, well, with all the amount of electromagnetic waves because of all the nukes, it's fried every computer or every piece of electronics that would have made a car work.
I can get this fucking thing flying.
Oh, what the? Yeah, but that's if you just say that that's like it's hydraulics and like, or they've made it all from scratch, so they don't have the ability to make a new car, or it's more hassle than it's worth. Upkeep, like imagine getting a car from like the 60s and trying to keep that going now.
Oh, no,
you'd go, fuck it, I'll get a Brahmin and just tow a cart. At least I could just put a bit of food in that and it works.
I mean, I'd settle with getting power armor and just putting it on all fours and putting wheels on it.
That I'd like to see, actually. Just someone like
the worst transformer in the world.
Yeah, and if one of those legs comes off, wherever, you're just going to skid into just nothing but metal and die.
I just always found it odd that nobody made.
Also, don't forget that most of the cars that you see, if you put like 3 shots into it, it explodes into an atomic bomb anyway. Why the fuck would you want to be inside that?
I just want a vehicle in general, like just to get around and carry stuff.
Now, I'd like to put my own caravan together. That I like. So you got to
that's fine.
Get some Brahmin together, and then you got to do your own trade route to the next town or whatever. I'd love to do all that.
Even that. Like having some of the creatures, like you say, basically pull a as good as caravan. That's fine, but there's nothing for the player to navigate. And
no, I mean
it's mobile shelter and
the robot, like the Automatron DLC, where you could build your own robot companion, so you can make it like an absolute walking fortress. Oh, it's so good. Like build like some of the robots that I had, man. Like they're giant sentries with like a huge chainsaw arm or something like that, and then the other one's like a Gatling laser, and it's just covered in pockets to like just here, hold all these oil cans. Like I could just fill it full of shit, and it could just like it could barely go through a hallway because it's so big, and like it's got tasers and stuff like that on it. So if anyone gets too close, it'll shock them away.
That's cool.
But something like that you could like hollow out and like drive about in, that would make sense.
Yeah. It just seems, and I know it is probably more of a Bethesda thing than the world itself. I just always found it odd that you've got this big sprawling world,
but I think that's it though. Like I think that with a game that's as big as these have been comparative to other games at the time, if you were to just get a car straight away, or you can just strap a power cell into a car and then it will work, potentially you could go past a whole bunch of random side quests and things like that you wouldn't have just happened upon, or if you could just speed past every single random encounter with a person or an enemy, you're not going to get that much XP. Do you know what I mean? Like walking from one end of the map to the other, you probably won't be able to do without in one life without someone attacking you or killing you or a deathclaw jumping you or whatever. And I think if you introduced a vehicle, you'd probably fuck a bunch of that up.
Probably car's probably the wrong thing to say, but having a creature just pull you, and you've got like basically a tent or something on a piece of wood with some wheels, like just something.
What you want is Liberty Prime's legs with a house on it.
Not so much.
You just stomp around.
Like say you got like Brahmin or something that's just put like a horse and cart basically, but something that you can go and stock, get your supplies, load it into that. Oh, it's night time, or there's a fucking acid rain and whatnot.
I like the idea of that, like a mobile,
like a caravan.
Yeah, like a mobile command spawn point thing.
Yeah,
I like the idea because then you'd be like a target for raiders and stuff like that, so they keep on trying to jump you.
And you could wake up and your armor have been nicked or they've died or something, and now you're just stuck in the middle of nowhere and you can't pull your fucking caravan.
Or you can track them.
Yeah.
You got to track them down, or if you introduce that into 76, well then we've dug up all of this ore. We need to get it across this map to sell it for an absolute fortune, but every player on the map is going to be told where you are. Like I think even Red Dead you could do the same thing.
Did it on GTA when you're doing your
and GTA, yeah. I don't think that would be breaking the law too badly. I think if you go, just give me a car or something like that.
That's what I mean. Like, car's probably not the best idea. But
it would just explode. Like, everything is just, it's fusion batteries from 100 years ago. Like, I wouldn't want to sit in one if you say, there's a 30% chance it could just explode into an atomic fireball. Do you want to get in it? No, I'd rather walk, actually.
Sometimes just opening a toilet gives you rads. So,
yeah.
The odds are you're probably going to get quite ill being in the car. But this thing that you've built from scratch, and again, that could go into your base building thing. So this one is just a shit one that's basically a tent. But once you've got the blueprints for it, you could build one that is more like a proper caravan, which is a bit more sheltered and stuff like that. I think it'd be a good idea.
Yeah, I think maybe in Fallout 5.
I
don't know. Have you played Starfield?
Yeah.
That's pretty good, man.
It is, but I also sent you a photo of that whale that was in an elevator. So
I didn't say it's perfect. That's also got nothing to do with the base building side of it.
But there's also no vehicles in that either. I found
See, that I do agree with. Like, I would like
I
to...
want a moon buggy.
Yeah, like, I want a ship that I can have a hangar that I can come into, and then there's, like, a second thing. So you need to be, like, at a certain level and have certain components to be able to build a ship big enough to carry it. But a buggy or some sort of rover that you could make. So when you're going on these missions where you're just, like, scanning flora and fauna on a planet, or looking for random natural anomalies and whatever, I don't want to walk for 15 minutes to get there, because unlike Fallout, there is nothing in the way. It is just a straight shot. Let me just jump in a buggy and zip over there. Get there, scan it, back to the ship.
I'd be happy with just a jetpack. Not the shit that we get in, in Starfield.
It's like a boost pack.
Yeah, it's fucking shit is what it is. I want a proper jet, like a Boba Fett jetpack, where I can actually do stuff and it's worthwhile, not just I can jump a little bit higher. Yay.
Then you just make it like only usable outside of like cities. So you can't go to Neon City and just fly around. You can, you can go to a random part of the planet and you can fly around in that bit that it generates for you. Then I don't.
Fine with that.
I don't get why they haven't done it, but the game itself is already impressive with not having that in there. That would be like another year's worth of work.
But it is the same as... Like, I love Starfield. I think it's very good, and it's definitely Bethesda's most polished game to date. But that's still not the biggest compliment in the world, because all of their games should be polished because they're a AAA studio. But when you compare to... You go, Starfield's phenomenal, blah, 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 blah. Red Dead 2.
Yeah.
Came out years prior, and it still outclasses it in every way. I know there's not spaceships and stuff in Red Dead, but in terms of visuals, how big the map is, the stuff you can do, I can get on a horse. Like, it's... Starfield should let me have a buggy. It should. There's no reason not to. I mean, people have modded.
It's only been out a few months. It could only be a matter of time before they go, well, as part of its life cycle, we're going to introduce additional vehicle components that you can use to build stuff. I wouldn't be surprised if that was the case. But Todd Howard had openly said that there isn't like buggies and stuff, but you do have a jetpack. That was like his exact words. And at the time when I first read that, I was like, cool, fair enough. But then I played it and I've gone, this isn't a proper jetpack. Like, you can't expect me to traverse the entirety of this planet with a... because that's all it does. It's just a put pack. But Scooty Puff Jr.
Exactly. That's the actual name for it. In the guidebook. Everything else about Starfield I really like, and I like the what in the same way as Fallout, where you've got it's the world and it's the how you feel about that world. I do like that with Starfield. I wish they went more into it. Like with you, Vault Boy. It's Vault Boy, isn't it? Little cartoon guy.
The Vault Boy, yeah.
Yeah. Like I want more of that kind of stuff, similar to Outer Worlds.
Yeah,
You know,
I think that
you got the big head guy. I want that kind of world stuff.
But that's just a mascot for a store.
No. But
it's not.
When you see, I know exactly what I mean, but it's really hard to describe what I mean. Like aesthetically, when you look at the stuff in Starfield, so you've got like the stripes and everything else. I keep waiting for something to just go here, like Starfield. No, I was going to say Starfleet. That's fucking Star Trek, but where it's got some form of interactive media that just gives you more like knowledge of the world of Starfield, and that doesn't really exist. You've got like stuff you can read, but it's just a computer screen. I want videos and like I don't know. I'll figure it out. It doesn't exist, so I'm not going to.
But they also haven't really made a game that does it previously either. So one thing you could say is that we've never had vehicles in Fallout, so why would we just introduce them now all of a sudden?
Oh no, but there's a reason for Fallout because everything's fucked. In Starfield, if I could build a spaceship, I could build a buggy.
True, but that's years of development time to get you to the point where you can build a spaceship. And it's not as if they've got old vehicle assets that they can just pull forward and just go, well, we'll just tweak that slightly and we'll make that a car that you can now drive in this instead.
Modders have done it, though.
Yeah, but that's because they've got the time and the patience to do that on their own.
Paid to do it.
Yeah, but they're not paid to just make your game. They're paid to go, right, we need to hit all of these particular markers by this date to release it.
Well, no, they didn't have a date.
That would be on the... I'm sure that would have been on the... If we had the time or the budget, we'd love to do it, but we can't, so we don't.
I genuinely, hand on heart, think it was they couldn't get it working. That's why they didn't. Because they wouldn't have made these big open planets with literally nothing in them if you couldn't drive a moon buggy.
Or like a little
fucking Segway.
Scooter thing that you can just sort of zip about the dunes on or something.
But it will be the same as... Not the same because they pulled it off, but CD Projekt Red obviously hadn't made anything else other than The Witcher, and then they went with Cyberpunk, and you got these bikes, you got cars and stuff. But that was a lot of development time, was like working out how these mechanics work. And I don't know, but I would wager a lot of money that they had the idea to have these buggies and some whatever else, and they just couldn't get it working without you clipping through the floor or
people trying to drive into towns and stuff.
Yeah, stuff like that. And so they just not put them in. That's what I would say it is. Because there's too much nothing. Because that was the problem the first Red Dead had. Like, you'd be out in the fucking wilderness and stuff, and there's literally nothing. And it's like, I mean, it's visually pretty cool, but fucking hell, I'm used to zipping around in cars and listening to footy radio stations and that.
Yeah,
I've just got the sounds of the wildlife here and there. Whereas the second one, they improved that, and you get fucking jumped by bandits and stuff, and there's trains going. I know time there's a big chunk of time between the first two, like game world time, but they learn and they've done it. So potentially Starfield 2, you might see more of this kind of stuff.
Well, we'll just have to check back in on Starfield 2 in 10 years when it'll be
and the rest
about ready to fall. But hopefully by then we've got a Fallout 5. So if this TV show is received well, I'd say that's probably going to be your trigger point to say, okay, cool. Well, if we haven't already got 5 in the works, which I'm sure they probably already do, people love this. They're back into it. We're seeing the player numbers for Fallout going back up again. Now we hit the tide running, because
that's what they do with the Halo TV show.
Well, that was also made by
I'm joking.
terrible people. But like The Last of Us, like that tied into the re-release, didn't it?
Yeah.
Like the release dates of that,
they
and the PC release for the first one.
They purposely delayed it so that it did, but yes.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. Like, if we were to see, they wouldn't have announced a Fallout TV show. I know I keep saying TV show, and it's not technically, but whatever.
Yeah, you watch on your telly.
Yeah, but we haven't said, and there's going to be Fallout 5 that's coming out in summer as well. So by the time that the Fallout show's finished, we'll get your Fallout 5 there, and that'll keep you going. There'll be another 150 hours worth of content in that, which will take you to the next year when Season 2 comes out. Bang, there you go.
Makes sense. I guarantee they haven't done that.
But we haven't heard... When did Fallout 4 come out? That must have been like
God.
2016, something like that?
Yeah, maybe even sooner. Later. Further back. I think it might have been before that, you know. Let's have a look.
Do you think? I'm on Steam at the moment. It'll show on here, won't it?
2015. November 10th.
Yes, it was. So, that's 8 years since Fallout 4 came out. And I know that 76 came out in the meantime. That was 2020.
Earlier this month, in an interview with IGN, Todd Howard confirmed Fallout 5 will be Bethesda's next project after The Elder Scrolls 6. So
God's sake! I mean, to be fair though,
it's never coming out.
Elder Scrolls 6 will be banging.
Should be.
Like, can you imagine Skyrim, but it looks somewhat like Starfield? Holy shit!
It depends, because obviously this was in thingy before Microsoft bought them. So, how much do you reckon they've had to scrap and go back to scratch on? Like, Microsoft just gone, you ain't released. Like, are these just temporary textures? And they've gone, no? They're going, you can, right. Get rid of that.
I don't know. I get the sense that they're just leaving him to it.
Nah, they delayed Starfield multiple times because they wasn't happy with it.
But if that's to make sure that it's a full and finished final product,
that's the whole point of it, and I agree with
then that's absolutely fine. I'd rather see, but you know that Elder Scrolls there's going to be a lot more craziness in that. There will be dragons that you can fly about on, and a bear that you can ride, and lightning storms that you can summon, and it will break the game because it won't understand that you've got your party and a whole bandit camp and a thing and a box that shouldn't be there, like, because people will just do whatever the hell they want to, and it will blast you through the planet or something like that. But I am actually quite looking forward to that, but I'm not going to get a boner for that just yet.
No, yeah,
until I see the first trailer for it, and I'm like, oh, that does look cool actually, or oh my god, this looks like this is the fantasy is like Baldur's Gate, but it's first person. That I would get more excited for than Fallout then, but I can't see it happening.
I've always preferred
Honestly,
Fallout to the Elder Scrolls universe. Skyrim's fun, like, I love Skyrim, but the most fun I've had in Skyrim was like my 10th playthrough or whatever, and I just modded it with Star Wars mods, and to the point where you can go to you can add extra characters from. I'm not going to spoil it in case you want to do it yourself, but there's characters from Star Wars universe that you can bring in who get put into the game, and they give you missions that you have to go and you can go and do stuff. It's very clever. Cool. It's very well done.
Yeah.
And like, one of my companions was a oh god, what's R2?
An astromech.
Astromech one of my companions was an astromech, and that, and it's just, with the exception of some things that ruin it, it feels like a very cool Star Wars RPG, and that's by far the most fun I've had with that game. And I do like Skyrim a lot, but I wish they'd made it just a Star Wars game. But yeah, I don't know what it is with. I think Fallout. I've got a very big soft spot for Fallout, mainly because it's. I think Uncharted 2 would be another one, but it's one of the only games where I've literally sat there and gone, "Wow!" Like, when you're coming out of that vault for the first time, like I remember that vividly. And I'd got a Xbox 360 Elite when they first came out, and I'd got Fallout 3 and Fable 2, and like both excellent games. But yeah, I never had that with Skyrim, that wow moment. Like, it's a great game and I loved it, but I don't know. I think literally because of that one thing, Fallout always edges it for me. That, and I think the universe is more interesting.
That is what I was going to say. Like, if you were to say, "Oh, we made a Skyrim TV show," I'd just be thinking, "Oh, this is like a Game of Thrones, sort of Lord of the Ringsy kind of vibe to it." That's fine. But the Fallout universe is so interesting to me, and like, it's one of the ones where I actually want to read every terminal and see what all the weird shit that happened 150 years ago with some prison case.
Was it you that was telling me about that YouTube channel that does they go into the vaults and stuff and they do like forensic?
Yeah.
I thought it was. That's what I was going to ask.
But like, it's that level of detail. Just like, oh well, you can probably tell by like they've got like this, like these instruments that are all on this table here, and from what they've read in this terminal, and then from what someone else has said about what happens in this vault, and you've read something in Vault-Tec headquarters that ties back into it, you can determine from that there was like, you know, weird psychic research that was going on at this place, and then all these X-rays are like human brains, and then they've got like a robo brain store. Like, there's thought that goes into seemingly every aspect of it.
Yeah.
There's just random things that a lot of people won't even see because they're not super interested in looking in every little nook and cranny and trying to find everything.
That fridge.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of a good example, because you can hear the voice when you're sort of like roughly in the area. But if you just don't investigate it, then you never find him.
Yeah. I love the Fallout world. I'm very much looking forward to Skyrim, to Elder Scrolls. But if I had to choose, I would choose Fallout 5 every single
100%.
time. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Both hopefully will be good though, especially now Microsoft have got a bit more of a say in the development, and if they're happy. And I mean, people have waited this long for Elder Scrolls; they'll wait longer. So
yeah,
if it's not up to scratch, then it ain't going to come out.
But then that's the thing. I'd switch those around then if that was the case, or unless the Fallout TV show is to just keep people tied over until they can finally get around to starting making Fallout 5.
Maybe.
Because potentially, if you to say, okay, well, the engine, like the weapon mechanics, a lot of the character animations, all of that kind of stuff, we can take a lot of that from Starfield.
Yeah.
And then all we've got to do is just change a lot of aesthetics. So we'll still have the wacky guns and we'll have crazy enemies, and it's not just going to be like, it's just bandits and more bandits and then more bandits. There'll be a lot more to it. But if they can get the look and how it feels, if they can just copy and paste that almost, you've got a reasonably decent starting point there.
Do you think that we've just assumed that Starfield's got a new engine, and it's actually the engine from like Fallout 4? It's just now it's been utilised properly.
If that's the case, I don't care. Use it again. It works, man.
I'm pretty sure it's a new engine, but
it would have to be, yeah.
But this is what goes to show, though. Like, when you look at, it doesn't really necessarily reflect Fallout or anything, but if you look at a exclusive PlayStation 3 title, PS4 title, PS5 title, Nintendo Switch, like even like Super Mario Odyssey visually looks better than Fallout, just because it's purposely made for that console. And that'll always be the case. If you have a game that's specifically made for a console and they do it properly, it'll always look really fucking good. You can't do that with a multi-platform game at all. But I don't necessarily think it's a fault of Bethesda themselves. I think a lot of the time they're too overambitious, and they kind of rush things out. So if Microsoft didn't own them, we probably would have Fallout 5 coming out alongside this, just to keep that momentum going. But I don't know. I'd rather wait until it's done properly, though.
Yeah, if that's the takeaway from Starfield, then yeah, take an extra year. Like, don't do what CD Projekt Red were forced to do, which is to release a product that just didn't work properly. Because whilst that might be exactly what people want you to do to get it in your hands, the first impression that they're going to get with it is, God, this doesn't work, or this is broken, or why have I fallen through the floor again, or why is my car in the roof?
It's why I never understood why people got angry with stuff like that, where they'll kick off because it's been delayed.
Because it's a thing.
But it's
a thing. They just want to jump on a bandwagon and just be like. So that's the thing. Like the studio, unless they were saying like we're gonna have investors pull out because of all the bad press that's gonna go around it, so we're forced into doing this now. But if I was in charge of that company, I would be releasing that game with that caveat to say, I don't want to release this, but our hands are pretty much tied financially and we have to. So if there's problems, report them and we apologise.
Who was that?
And leave it at
recently?
That.
Somebody's done that recently.
Yeah, we talked about it on the podcast.
I can't for the life remember who it was. City Skylines.
I was going to say it's City Skylines. Yeah. It was Paradox, I think it is. It makes City Skylines. I can't remember. Either way, they basically came out and said, it's not going to look as good as it should have done. We'll just warn you ahead of time that it's going to look like poo. I haven't been back to that, if I'm honest.
I 100% agree.
Colossal Order, published by Paradox.
I just never understood. Like, you can be disappointed. That's fine because you've been looking forward to something. But why would you want it if it doesn't work?
Yeah, send me my car 3 weeks early. What do you mean he hasn't got a windscreen? Like,
who needs a steering wheel? Give me.
It's one of these things that because Cyberpunk was so hyped up and it was so much in the public eye, unless it was incredible, it was always going to get. But it's when people go, oh well, we'll put a class action lawsuit together and we'll sue them, because it's like, oh, shut up. Like, all you want is you're personally disappointed because you've hyped something up yourself and you think that you're entitled to something that you're definitely not.
That's the other thing, though, like with you saying, like, because of all the hype that it had, whose fucking fault's that? Because it wasn't CD Projekt Red. They didn't hype it up.
Well, they would. They have a marketing budget, of course they do.
But that's it, though. Everything else is all...
I'd wager that there was a few meetings where they're like, this is getting ahead of us now. Like, now there is literally pre-orders falling out of our arse, and we're not Rockstar. Like, we don't know that we can absolutely deliver on that.
I mean, let's be honest, Rockstar couldn't without forcing people to work unpaid overtime and stuff.
Yeah, but look at GTA 5. Like, when that came out, that was a $300 million-ish game when that came out, and they'd made the money back in pre-orders.
Yeah.
Which means that whole project was paid for before it was released, which is insane. But when it came out, it was fucking amazing.
It worked. The only thing that they didn't deliver on was we didn't have heists or anything.
The online, that was the only part that it fell down in. But I also...
An add-on.
Kinda. I mean, now it's evolved into something way bigger than the original game is.
Now, but
but it's like getting a Call of Duty or a Battlefield, and you go, "What do you mean there's no single player?"
Yeah, I mean, that's,
like, because they go, it's a thing that no one cares about anymore.
They've done the last.
But that's exactly what I mean. That's why I don't bother with them anymore, because the single player part of it was like, the online has always been the add-on.
Yeah, it
shouldn't be the other way around, and that's like with Battlefield 5, I want to say, they just didn't have a single player. It was just multiplayer.
The last
and then 2042. Sorry, I think is there wasn't a single player element to it at all.
Battle Royale fundamentally.
Yeah,
like 100 player maps or whatever it was. But yeah, there's no CD Projekt Red on at the. I like The Witcher, and I did like Cyberpunk, truth be told, but they're not Rockstar, and whereas Rockstar have got the luxury of going, GTA 6 should have been out in time for Christmas. It's not going to happen. So nothing
next
will happen.
Christmas.
Yeah, they take as long as they fucking take. Makes no odds to them. CD Projekt Red aren't that big, and all they're going off is The Witcher. That's all they've got. And if they've got whether it is investors, whether it's the higher ups at CD Projekt Red, whoever it is, if they say it's releasing on this day, that's the day it's releasing. Simple as that. Yeah. They can't push back, and I can understand people being disappointed. I wasn't, because I only had like 2 glitches happen to me when I got it. But neither of them was game breaking at all. They was annoying more than anything else, but that was it. And that was day 1 as well. I didn't wait or anything. That was the day it came out. But I think for the most part, I think they delivered. I think they were very close to pulling it off. The biggest problem they had was releasing it on last-gen consoles as well. Like, if they just focused on PC, PS5, and yes, it would have been Series X, wouldn't it? Back then. No, it wasn't. No, it would have been PS4 and Xbox One, but they released it on 3 and 360.
They couldn't have released it on 360.
No, it must have been 5 and Series X. What the fuck did it? I've confused myself here.
It came out like 2 years ago. Was it 21 or 20? I
think it was 21. I think.
Yeah,
no, 2020.
It was 20.
It was 2020. Yeah, PlayStation 5, 4, Xbox One, Series X, Windows, and Stadia. Yeah. So if they hadn't released
Stadia, fucking hell.
But if they hadn't,
they could have just boxed that off straight away. Like, we're not developing anything for Stadia. No, thank you.
That'd have just been the PC version, wouldn't it?
Yeah, but anything that would have just had their name attached to it, it's just going to be time wasted.
But no, it's literally been played on a PC and then you're streaming it to your...
No, I know, but I still would have gone, absolutely not. Like, even if it's just us copying and pasting a code and putting it in here, I'm not doing it. It's going to fall apart, so there's no point.
It would have been that PlayStation 4 and Xbox One version. That's what's fucked it royally. Because they were the worst ones, and they still are the worst ones. But it was unnecessary. Like, just focus on your current gen stuff. They were already well out of date by this point. It's not like they were still in fashion. But also, I suppose you could argue and say nobody could buy a PS5 and a Series X. So we got to release it on the other ones because nobody had one.
Yeah. But then you focus on the PC one, and then you just get that looking as good as it can, and then you just knock a bunch of things off to make it work on consoles.
I know, so we're going to wrap it up briefly in a minute, but realistically, the odds are the fan base that you are targeting is the PC demographic who have played all of them.
No, by this point it had reached the. This is like Call of Duty, like a new Call of Duty. Like everyone who has some passing knowledge, everyone will be aware of it and they'll pick it up. Oh, for The Witcher?
Yeah.
No, I wouldn't say it's just PC, no.
No, not just, but I mean, like most people who played The Witcher before before Wild Hunt would have been PC players. Mainly because I'm pretty sure it only came out on PC.
I'm pretty sure the first one only came out on PC, but I thought Witcher 2 came out on console as well, didn't it?
Couldn't tell you. Couldn't tell
I've got it. I've got it for the PC, but I don't know if it's out on anything else, if I'm honest.
So, Assassins of Kings.
Yeah, that's it.
Xbox 360, Mac OS, Windows, Linux, and that's it. Didn't come out on PlayStation.
What about the first one?
Witcher 1. Just Windows and Mac.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But this is what I mean, like it would have been predominantly PC players that played the first two. 3 is the Fallout 3, where I'm pretty sure I had it on. I think I had it for PS4. I think the third one. I definitely didn't have it for PC. But yeah, like I say, focus on the PC one.
And just
enough
chip away at
people will
it.
buy it, so it's not going to be a flop or anything. But I don't know. Anyway, we need to talk about the store, Dan.
Go for it.
Our store, not their store. Buy our game. So we're going to be adding some new designs and stuff to the store this week, including we haven't done a Christmas themed design since the Robotnik one.
That was a long time ago.
It was a very long time ago, and it did sell very well. I'll be honest, sold quite a few. So we're going to do a new Christmas theme one, but we're going to gut the store out and get rid of some of the stuff that we don't like anymore. So go to the website and check it out and buy some, because don't make it a waste of time. But where is that website, Dan?
It's www.podcastvsplayer.com/shop.
There you go. Or store.
Is it?
I'm pretty sure it's store. 90%.
Well, it should be shop, shouldn't it? British?
Yeah, PvP store. I said PvP shop. Yeah, it's store.
Fair enough. Then www.podcastvsplayer.com/store.
There we go. You can also look at the new Let's Plays that we've done, which is Police Simulator. We did some Pokemon yesterday, and we'll go some more of that. And whatever else has gone up there, because I can't remember. But Dan, thank you for listening. Thank you for partaking.
Thank you.
Thank you for seeing the news before I could show you.
Well, blame Elon Musk for that.
That's true.
It's not my fault.
That's true. But we'll see you on the next one. Bye.